Hello guys, welcome to another video about Beginner Guide in Albion Online. Today we will talk about how you can level up your favorite gathering specs in Albion Online as a beginner. We will talk about how you can reach Tier 8 level while earning silver and what's the best way to max out gathering spec. So first of all, what resources are best for gathering in Albion, you may ask, because we have 5 resources in Albion that are woods, ores, fiber, skins, and stones. And we have different cities that lets you travel to areas where you can find these resources. Either it's blue zone, yellow zone, red zone, or black zone. Now, another question arises whether to farm resources in blue zone, yellow zones, red zone, or black zone. Also, let's not forget about mists and Ava roads where you can do resource gathering too. But as a new player, you will be very confused in these things, which is why I will take you to the most profitable steps in gathering, and later you can level up other resources at any zones you want. So as a new player in Albion, you should make your skinning gathering as a first priority or as a second priority. Yes, you should have at least Tier 6 in gathering hide, which you can achieve as a new player when playing Albion. For example, if you start in Bridgewatch City, your first priority will be skinning, as you will encounter lots of animals, and then you can go for a fiber as secondary gathering resource. What I mean is, you should carry 2 gathering tools with you, which is skinning knife and any other gathering tools that you want to gather in that map. So if you start in Limhurst, you will have your wood as a first priority and skinning as secondary because Limhurst is rich in woods. If you start in Thetford City, you will have your first priority at fiber and skinning as second because fiber is the main resource in Thetford City. You can farm skins in Caerleon too, but it's too dangerous for new players, which is why I don't want to recommend new players to farm in Caerleon City. Also, about Martlock and Fort Sterling, they do not have animals, so it's for intermediate players who have already skinning spec. Now you may ask why to go for skinning as a new player? Won't I get ganked when farming skins as the wild animals will hit you back, and when mounting it can interrupt your mount? Well, it's true, but to efficiently gather resources to max out your gathering spec, even if it's wood or ores or fiber, you will be fighting the mobs like Dryad, Elemental, Spirit, etc. So it all have same risk. So why not take a risk in skinning? Also, when you gather hides from different animals, they have a chance to drop a baby animal too, which is another huge profit for new players. That is why skinning should be the first main priority or as a second. Now, let's say you are already gathering different resources like woods, ores, and fibers, or stones. Should you change your gathering objective now? No, do not change your gathering until you have reached Tier 8 level, because you have already given so much time in gathering that resources. If you are progressing your lumberjack, then hit the Tier 8 first. If you are progressing at being a miner gathering ores, hit the Tier 8 first. Also, not only Tier 8, hit the Tier 5 spec at 40 spec before changing your gathering skill to another resource. Now the question remains how to level up fast in gathering resources. The common way that everyone is familiar with is by equipping the gathering gears, eating pork pie, having a premium, and using the Avalonian gathering tools, which I do not recommend for new players. Yes, you can do this method in blue zones, yellow zone, or maybe red zones, but in black zones, it will not be very effective. Also, I am not saying it is not fully effective. I mean to say that even these steps are the most common way, but for a new player, it is not very effective in earning silver. Why? Because you may level up the gathering spec by only focusing in resource, but the most important thing in the end will be the silver so that you can buy your first premium. So as a new player who have just started the game, do not go for full gathering resources. Have your PvE sets, not gathering sets, and yes, equip with Tier 7 pork pie with gathering tools, journals, and you are ready. Now, as a new player, if you are a Tier 4 gatherer, you can also farm in blue and yellow zones till you reach Tier 5 gathering master. No need to rush in black zones. But if you want to earn silver while leveling up your gathering skill, black zones are where you should be. So now when gathering resources, the most important thing to look for is the enchanted resources and resource mobs, which is now full in black zones, mists, and Ava roads. So I prefer these zones for gathering to hit max spec. Also, you will hear people say, farm Tier 3 resources if you are a Tier 4 gatherer, or farm Tier 5 resources if you are a Tier 6 gatherer, and so on. They mean to say to you to farm one level less resources to effectively gather resources, which is true, but not 100% true. Why? Now, in my method to reach Tier 8 level fast in gathering gears, you should be farming what your gathering tier level is. For example, if you are a Tier 5 gatherer, gather Tier 5 resources, which is not a complete sentence, and others may not agree to it. However, to make it clear, I do not mean to gather Tier 5 sitting normal resources when you are a Tier 5 gatherer. Sounds confusing, right? Does not make sense, right? Now listen carefully. Do not gather the resources that are just sitting there like normal fibers plants, normal woods that are sitting there, or ores and so on. It takes a lot of time to gather these kinds of sitting resources, and it's a trap. What I want you to do is, if you are a Tier 5 gatherer, go for Tier 5 mobs, okay, resources mobs that are roaming and that will attack you when you attack them. So if you are a Tier 6 gatherers, go for Tier 6 mobs and so on. Like I said, different resources have their own mobs, which are very easy. And the best thing about them is that you can fast gather their dead bodies. Now, another important thing is that if you are a Tier 5 gatherer, then you can farm the Tier 4 resources, which are not mobs, but a sitting resource that wants you to farm them, because you will gather it fast too. But when it comes to same level as your gathering level, farm mobs. Did you get that? Two methods of gathering. Now, another topic is about why not to use gathering gears as a new player. As a new player, you will unlock maybe Tier 5 or up to Tier 6 gathering gears. And that is not very useful for you to escape even from a solo gankers. Look at you. You are a new player that do not even know what gankers are using. You do not know where you should run, how to save your skills, when to use invisible potion and so on. And wearing a gathering set makes it even worse because there's no defense, no offense, no extra perks. It just makes you a vulnerable player. And I hate this unless you are in a Tier 8 expensive gathering gears, which new players cannot imagine to buy. Wearing a Tier 6 gathering gears is not recommended for any players. It's useless. It may give you some yield bonus, but I do not recommend it because instead you can wear a Tier PvE full 4.2 gears. You kill every mobs in your way, and at least you can spec up that gears and have defense or offense to run from gankers or fight back solo ganker. Lista, I can run from a solo ganker wearing a PvE 4.2 set and even fight back if needed. But with gathering set, either it's run or die because there is no fight back. Once they purge your boots, you are finished. So back to the topic, as a gatherer, you can wear Tier 7 gathering sets or Tier 8 gathering sets after you hit that Tier 8 level, because you will be earning so much profit in gathering resources that it will cover your gear price even if you lose it. You will no longer be a new player, and you will understand how gathering works and how you can escape. Now for new player, another thing that gatherers should use is the map rotation, map level, and escape route. So what is the map rotation? As a gatherer, you should check the map first and rotate carefully to avoid gankers. For example, when gathering, do not gather near territory, do not gather near roads, do not gather near outposts, and do not gather in maps that have high number of players. So many things to remember, right? But hey, it's for black zone gatherers. You can gather in blue or yellow zones too, which will take more time, less silver, but it's safe. Okay, now when rotating maps in black zone, rotate in a circle while looking for mob camps, enchanted resources, and some thugs. Smuggler crates are very rare to find. I don't know why it's hard, but hey, new content in black zone. So now when rotating circle, you will always reach fresh resources that may not be depleted. So do not forget to wear your 4.2 PvE gears when gathering. Now the mistake that new players do is wearing a Royal City capes or wearing an expensive outfit in black zones. Do not do these things, guys. Wearing a high tier sets do not make you strong. It's the specs and IPs and skills. A low spec with a Tier 8 armor and weapons can easily die from a fully spec 4.2 gear player. If you want to fight, then I will bring guide about it too, but do not wear Gucci gears and attract gankers. So now for the escape route, you should always look for the blue portals that are shown in the minimap or next zone map entry, or you should use your invisible potion wisely. Sometimes running from gankers are almost impossible because they will chase you wherever you go. If that occurs, you can enter other enemy territory and get knocked by the territory guards, or you can enter group camps. But this escape ideas needs another guide, which I will bring one day. And do not take an ox in black zone, because you will be catched up sooner than you think. Do not take boars as it is expensive. Either use stag if you have money, or use a normal horse as a starter. Use a AoE damage weapons when gathering, because the trick is to gather all mobs around you and kill them together to save your time. Do not take Avalonian tools in black zones. If you really want to test out Avalonian tools, use it in safe zones only. For how to earn silver while gathering resources, you can watch my first video in my channel. Do not forget to bring journals, which should be one less level than your gathering level. For example, bring Tier 4 journals if you are a Tier 5 gatherers. Bring Level 5 journals if you are a Tier 6 and 7 gatherer, and so on. I like Tier 5 journals, even though I am a Tier 8 gatherer. When you get a tome from gathering, you can sell it in the market. And if you feel bored of doing gathering, go to Safe Zones, Corrupted Dungeons, or comment, How to Start PvP as a Beginner in my channel, and I might bring that video early. So this is Guys, the solo gathering tips for beginners. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Peace out.